So guys, this is what I worked on the last stream. The other stream, Chris did the unwrap. And during this week, I did this first material. Because for me, excuse me? What?
It was the feedback, man. It was your voice.
Oh, can't you hear me? No, I don't understand. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I worked on this material. I worked in a couple of evenings. So that's why I prefer to work on it before and not right now, because it took me 2 or 3 evenings, a couple of hours. Yeah, that's one of the main thing for me when texturing, It's kind of hard for me doing like one entire weapon in one session to texture, because I always have to do some back and forth, which kind of helps me to see things differently, Like if you start texturing right now, and after a couple of hours you say, yeah, it's good, but if you come back like the next day, you start kind of see things differently. I think that at least that's for me. So that's why I prefer to work on this material first. And now I would start to make a bit of a breakdown. I tried to organize it as best as I could, so it's easier a bit to follow. And yeah, so first I started with steel. I think it's one of the main smart materials of Painter. Actually, I got my shelf here on the side, so that's why you're not seeing it. And so, super easy, the base. I did put some of this brushed linear filter, but it's so subtle that you can barely see, actually.
Hey Joe.
Hey.
Can you deactivate all the upper layers and show one by one constructing all the assets?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's very easy to see what's happening.
Yeah, you're actually super right, man.
Thank you.
I hope it goes nicely, because 4K on my PC right now, it's kind of hard. Let's see. If not, I'm just gonna switch to 2K. So, base. This is the base. Actually, like this. Super easy. Actually, there is another kind of lines. I think it was already in the steel smart material like that. Then some surface details, just to add a little of bumpiness, like there is in all of these, kind of like that. Then edges. This one is pretty cool because I added some height on this one to kind of break those uniformity, on the edges. And a cool filter I actually just discovered is the warp, which gives this kind of effect to the mask. Can you see it? Like this. And so it breaks a bit the uniformity of our edges. Then I went with this kind of metal, which you can see has all this noise, not like this one, which is kind of more smooth. And this is the mask I made. It just has some height, this layer, and it's like this. The mask, the base is just a fill layer with some blue noise, warped a little bit, which just breaks a bit the uniformity of the noise. Then I used this metal edgeware generator to kind of mask out the edges of the noise, because if you look at the references, it's kind of less bumpy on the edges because it's where it's more used, Then another noise with just some roughness on it. It kind of brightens it up a little bit. And another one, which is like more contrasty. It's kind of some speckles, I think they're called. And some edge highlights. Pretty basic, like this. So this is the base, which I kind of like to keep in just one folder because, I don't know, you come back one day later, you don't know what's wrong with your material, you just don't like it. You can just go back and see more easily what's wrong, because if you have all the stuff put together, it's kind of hard. I don't know if that makes sense. Just let me know. Do you have any questions still here?
I have one.
Yeah.
You don't use ACSLUT to texturing?
I don't use it because it's not gonna go into Unreal, and I actually don't like the kind of colors it gives me all the time. So if it's a personal project or something that is not gonna go into Unreal, I usually just don't use it actually. Yeah.
Okay, I have other questions. How to find this material, this metal? You look at PBR list or just by eyes?
You mean the values?
Yeah, the values.
Yeah, it's just look at references. Like, I was kind of lucky with this weapon because there are some pretty damn cool references, you know? Usually when you're texturing weapons, you have to look for other type of weapons and like choose some cool stuff you like pretty much. But with this one, it was pretty easy, you know?
Yeah, perfect. So you don't use PBR list for nothing, just by eyes, everything.
Yeah, pretty
Okay,
much.
nice.
Do you have other question, guys? I guess not. So,
One from me actually. Sorry for being late.
easy.
For the base, did you use a smart material for the base?
I did, but I'm not really sure which one. I think was one of the base steels.
No, doesn't matter which one it is. I just wanted to ask if it was a smart material or not.
It was, I think it was or steel or blue steel, one of these two. But
Okay.
it kinda had only the base and I think the edges. Yeah, I think those were the only two layers.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So, next one, I did a folder just for the color variation, which is pretty easy after all. It's really subtle, but it really makes the difference for me. So, some blue color variation. Again, you have to look at the references, and it's kind of hard to see, but it's always there, especially on metals. So yeah, this is just Perlin noise with quite scaled up actually. And yeah, pretty easy. Some
Joe,
blue. Yeah,
can you show the base color channel separated of the, just the base color channel in the substance to see the
like
difference?
this.
No. You can activate the base material. Press C
Ah,
on your tree bridge just to separate the base material, base color. Again, yeah.
okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Thank you.
it's barely visible. I don't know if you can tell the difference. I barely can on my screen, so, but at the end, it truly brings it to life. A thing I usually do is put the layer on the base color to overlay, which kind of takes the layers below, and I don't know what it does, but it's just better. And I also lower the opacity of the layer, always in the base color. And this is the first mask. I did another one with blue, because I kind of saw in the references there is this kind of stripy look of a blue color variation. And again, super subtle, like it's 30% the opacity. And some yellow one, again, just with some noise. This one, maybe it's a bit more visible. Yeah, slightly more. And finally, the metal is not all the time the same kind of grayish intensity. So I've added some darker spots, which here kind of look quite harsh, I think, but they really make the difference, I think. And when you group the color variation, if you did use the overlay on your layer, you have also to make the same thing on the folder, because if you put it to normal, it's just too strong, too kind of weird. So remember that. Then I got my folder with all the roughness variation. Wait a second, because my computer is super slow. I think for the next materials, I got that to switch back to 2K. Pretty sure about that. So first one, what did I use here? Oh yeah, this one was in the steel smart material. There is some slight height I did put, and some roughness, subtle, but it really adds some cool detail, I think. Then some scratches with this map, which is one of the defaults one from Painter. Again, just some roughness. Here I did put some color, because if you look at the references, kind of the scratches always have some color, I think, some lighter color. So they are kind of barely visible again, but they're there, and they really make the difference, I think. Then another one of scratches with a different mask, I think. Yeah, I did put some levels just to kind of select less scratches. Pretty much same parameters, just a little bit more rough. And you can see them here. Then some lighter scratches. Again, just a Grunge scratches map. In the values, did put some metallic on this one, even though I think these ones are also with metal 2-1, because if there was no metal, they would look just like this. So other scratches. This one, I think I did hand paint them, because the other day, actually this week, I bought an alpha pack on ArtStation from a guy, which I don't really remember who is, but later I'll send you the link, because they're super nice, actually. Are these alphas? Let me check. I don't remember his name. It's not written here, but they're super good, actually. So
It's from Age. His name is Age. I will get the link and send you in Discord on
yeah,
second.
great. Those alphas are super cool. Like I discovered them this week. So you're gonna probably see quite some hand painted stuff, which was because I was testing his alphas. So yeah, so this stuff, it's just hand painted. Then another layer with some roughness, a bit of a darker color, and just this Grunge Map, Grunge Leak Dirty. I usually don't really like the leaks and those spots, how they're called, kind of like these ones, because they're super kind of recognizable. But with this kind of material, I think it fits very nicely. So yeah. Then another roughness layer, also this one, other leaks. And I've just kind of added some spots, as you can see. Little bit of reddish color, because I saw it kind of had some reddish tint, this whole thing. So yeah, I think it fits quite nicely. Then another roughness layer. Also on this one, usually I don't really like adding these kind of stripy looks, because they look just super recognizable, also these ones. But it kind of seemed to me that on some of them, there was this kind of a stripy look. So I did add it. Now it looks quite strong, but at the end, it's gonna be way less strong, actually. Then I used this Ironforge smart material. Why? Because from these refs, it kind of seems to me that it has a different coat underneath, and it's in the part where it's most used, you know? So it's kind of, I don't know really how to say it, but it gets used, and under it shows up another material pretty much. So why did that like this? So it's pretty much just the Ironforge smart material and a mask. Hand painted, added some blur. Yeah. The base was like this, pretty damn bad. Then I add some blur and hand painted. With the smart map, with the alphas, I think that Marcos did share right now. Actually, let me. These ones, which are super good. Then, and finally, just some spots like this, easy, which is the grunge shavings. Yeah. So, and now we kind of started getting more detailed. That's why I prefer to have the base stuff all here, because when you see that something just doesn't work with your material, you turn off all this stuff, go back to your base and see if there's something wrong with that. Then the dirt folder. I started by adding some ambient occlusion, mainly in this kind of a seam, which I think it needs a little bit more. It's super subtle, but I think it makes the difference. Then some soft dust. Started with this dust, kind of leveled it down, up actually, and then masked it out with a smart mask. Pretty basic, and it's like this. Another one, very similar, just changed a little bit the color. Yes. Then another dirt layer, which I think I could have rotated a bit like this, just to follow a bit the direction of the weapon, you know? Yeah. Then another layer, grunge dirt scratched in here, and just some roughness, but pretty easy. Then another one, let me break down the mask. In here, there is just, again, some roughness, some color. And for the mask, started with a smart mask, I think it was. Yeah, I don't think that's a generator. And overlaid it with this one, which actually is concrete. I don't know why, but I think looks pretty good. I added a little bit of blur, like quite subtle. And then I did paint out this section right here, because it kind of looked quite bad with the dirt there. Like it wouldn't make much sense, you know? That's where you always have your thumb, I think. So I just painted it out. Then, final layer of dirt, I did put these fingerprints and kind of add some less rough layer, just to kind of make pop a bit more all the layers below, as you can see. Kind of like this. Okay. Are there other questions? I think no. So
No, you can go.
So now I would get into this hand-painted stuff folder, because I did quite a lot of hand painting. Probably also in this mask there are some hand-painted stuff, but I don't really remember. I did it almost 1 week ago. And if I didn't put a paint layer, I probably forgot about it. But yeah, I used a lot of those alphas that I just sent over. Actually, Marcos sent over. And so, first thing in here was this one. Super easy, just hand painted with, I think, the standard brush, and added some blur and some height because I wanted to kind of replicate this kind of a hit, as you can see. Like pretty basic, but I think looks pretty cool. Let me check one thing real quick. Yeah, I forgot to turn on this paint layer because I maxed out this bump because I think it would make sense where it took the hit, it kind of smoothed out and there's no more grain in there. So yeah. And that's the first one. Then I made this kind of a particular mark also on the other side, this one, because there is this ref which kind of has this shape right here and same here. So I kind of went for something like that, which I think looks pretty cool. You know, makes a bit stand out the weapon like this. Easy, but I think that works. Then again on another ref, this one, I found this number, which super basic, everyone does that, but I think looked cool. So I did use some color, roughness, and some negative height. And yeah, I just painted, used some clouds to kind of break the uniformity. See? And then the transform was because when I painted it, I think, way too small. So instead of rewriting it, I just scale it down. And that's done. Do you have some questions? Nope. So
I have.
yeah, go for it.
How did you scale down the numbers?
It's just with the transform filter. You use the scaling,
Okay.
which then kind of moves this way because it's not centered. Oops.
So you can even move the location of it?
Exactly. If you go to the transform, then I use the offset like this, and you
Great.
you just move it wherever you want. Yeah, something like this.
I have a question as well.
Yeah.
How did you mask the numbers with the clouds texture?
So when I made the mask, you can see the paint layer because I just used the mask and painted the numbers. Then I added a fill layer, put it to subtract, which is, where is it? Here. And kind of moved a bit the values to get the look I wanted. Change a bit the seed with the random button till you get the kind of look you want, you know, something like this. And
Okay.
then the levels just to change a bit the intensity of the mask.
Thank you.
No problem. So then the cool thing about this weapon is that every piece I found has some rust. But before going into that, I want to show you that I did put some height details into this one. So let me show you. First one, some negative height around all these spots right here to kind of break a bit the flat surface. It's really subtle, but I think really makes the difference when you check it and uncheck it. And mask pretty easy, just painted manually, added some blur. So it looked like this at the beginning, blurred it out, and then put a filter, the warp filter, which does this kind of effect, which is pretty damn cool. Then same thing on these ones. I just wanted to go a bit further with the height. Yeah. Then, oh yeah, I did paint this little line, which I forgot in the high poly. Actually, I didn't see it in the references, so I just painted it in the height channel. Then I did add some scratches. Pretty easy, just some height to just give it some height scratches. And I did hand paint some spots actually too. Again, super small, but makes the difference. All right. Other than that, it's, yeah. Let's get into the rust then. So for the rust, I think I did use Rust Fine Smart Material or material, I don't remember. Yeah, this one here, which I spent quite some time tweaking the color because I don't know, the one that comes with that, it's kind of weird. I don't know, I didn't like it too much, so I spent quite some time just refining the color. And other than that, I divided the Rust in 3 folders because you can see it kind of spreads also in this kind of soft way, and there are also all these spots. So I needed 2 different type of masks to do these effects. So let me show you. The soft one is just like this. In the spots where I wanted, I hand painted and then painted out with an alpha just to give it the look kind of I wanted, like this. Then there are the spots. Also this one, just hand painted, but it's combined with a mask on the base layer of the rust, so it just looks better. It's kind of weird how it spreads the rust on this thing actually. It kind of looks that on most of the guns it kind of comes from the bottom and then up here. I didn't add this thing because it just looks weird to me, but yeah, that's how I did it. And then I did add another one, which is a kind of a middle way of this kind of more cloudy rust and these spots, which you can see it there. You know, it's not so hard, but yet not so soft. Yeah, that's it pretty much. Then I always like to add this final folder on which I do put this dust layer, which is just some dust like this, some color, white as some metallic, I don't know, some roughness, little bit of height, as you can see, super slightly. And then this is some fake ambient occlusion, which is just completely black and roughness to 1, because I didn't like this thing. I wanted to kind of fake there is a hole in there, so that's how I did it. And that's it for this material actually. Do you have some other questions before we get into the other parts?
Yeah, how did you make this ambient occlusion? What's this filter?
Which one? It's just color and roughness. The color completely black, roughness completely
So
to 1.
fill layer. This is painted.
Exactly. It's a fill layer, but with a black mask. So I did paint
Very great.
this stuff.
Yeah, I thought there is like some procedural filter for it.
No, super basic, just hand painted. Because I just wanted it to be in this little spot, you know. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. If you don't have other questions, I'll start going into the next materials. So no questions, I guess. Well, so. For this material, I kind of took these 2 references as my main ones. And so I think we can reuse the main material I made with these parts. Maybe the trigger, but it's gonna be changed quite a bit. For this bottom plate, I think I'm gonna make now a more chromy material. So we're gonna start. The opacity in the handle, you mean the holes? Like these ones? those are actually geometry. Like, see, I decided to actually make some interior. Yeah, so I went a bit crazy with this one. Yeah. But I think if you want to make it with opacity, it should be pretty easy. You just... Oh no, it's all geometry. But I think if you want to make it with opacity, you had opacity, change the shader settings, I think, to with alpha blending, I think. Add opacity. Well, let's add a black mask. And opacity like this. Yeah, I should paint it also on the other side. And then I think it should kind of, yeah. Yeah, okay, doesn't look that good. I think, yes, something like this. Yeah, kind of, but just looks so bad. So with Geo looks much better. Yeah, that's it. Do you have other questions? No? Then I would say we continue with this bottom plate. We spent very little time on it because, yeah, it's just such a small piece that it's barely ever seen. So yeah, as I was saying, I think we're gonna go with a more chromy material. So let's see. So just created a group and mask it. So first thing, let's choose with which material we start actually. I think it's gonna be way too reflective, this one, but we can just change it. Yeah, I'm glad you're good, Brandon. It's ton of stuff. Oh fuck, this is one of my materials. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's start with a steel material. I think I'm going to switch back to 2K because it's getting way too slow. So yeah, I think the quality in the viewport is gonna drop down right now. Yeah, let's start with this steel. And then we just tweak it. Yeah, let's go to 2K. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's super slow. So, yeah, I think we're gonna start with this one. So this is just the base. This one has a little bit of a blue tint, but many times it's pretty cool adding a blue tint to the metals, but in this case, I think I'm just gonna keep it like this. Roughness, I think it's pretty good. Maybe a bit more like this. It's kind of hard to see actually, because it's just down here. Let me check if I have Tomoko. No, actually, I kind of like to use Tomoko Studio as an environment. It just looks better like this. So yeah. So this fill layer here is adding some lines which are going in this direction. I think we just rotate it and make it going this one because it just makes more sense. And this one I think does the same thing, but this one we can't rotate it, so let's just delete it. A bit more opacity in this one maybe. Yeah, something like this. Maybe it's a bit too reflective. Again, for me, textures take some time because seeing things right at the first time, it's kind of hard, I think. It's a lot of tweaks back and forth, so yeah. Surface details. Oh yeah, in this one there is just some height, but I would keep it a bit more subtle. Yeah, something like this. Roughness details. I think this one is cool, but let's put it in the roughness folder so we just know where everything is, you know. I would keep it actually, maybe just keep it a bit less rough. Sometimes instead of tweaking the roughness value, I just like to switch to roughness up here and just use the roughness slider here. Like this, I think. Yeah. Then we have these edges. Yeah, actually, this steel is the same I used on the body as a base, which looks pretty cool. So I don't really like this kind of mask. Many times I prefer to use the curvature. Just start with that one. It kind of warps a bit the edges, as you can see. It kind of breaks a bit the uniformity. Then I wouldn't spend time adding color variation on this one, just isn't worth it. It's barely ever seen. So yeah, let's just make it a bit more rough, like this. Then I would add some roughness just to the edges, because that's where it usually gets more rough, you know. So new mask, generator, I start with curvature, and just change a bit the contrast balance to get something like this, I think. Yeah. And I think I'm gonna multiply it with a fill layer. Let's put it to multiply, and let's find some cool grunge map. So something like this, maybe. Yeah, I think something like this can work. Oh, let's remove the opacity channel, which we don't need. And I think we're just gonna use the roughness here. You see, you can see here better, just roughing up a bit the edges. Looks cool. Maybe some color. Something like this. Maybe we can expand a bit more the edge mask. Something like this, maybe. Yeah, can work something. Then, yeah, let's rename this one, and I would say let's add some roughness variation. So I just call it rough one, just to know pretty much what this layer does. Black mask. Let's add a fill layer. And now we have to choose which Grunge map to use. I think we could use this one. Let's see. Scale it up. Offset, maybe 3. Yeah. And since it's almost grayish, this mask, let's add some levels. Tweak it like this. Yeah, something like this. Yeah, I say something like this. Then let's add some scratches, I would say. That's the part that would get more scratched You know, that's the base, so we can add some of those, maybe just with some height. See with this one. Again, black mask, fill, and scratches. We could use maybe this one. Scale it up. Maybe a bit less. Yeah, way too high, the height. So probably something like this. Yeah. Yeah. Then maybe we can add some roughness to these ones and some darker color, like where the dirt would kind of get into the height scratches. Yeah. By the way, if you have any questions, everything, just ask me while I'm working. I would say let's add another rough layer. Just with the rough channel, I would say. Yeah. Again, fill. Let's see here what to use. Maybe this one can look cool. When choosing the Grunge Map, it's just about testing what could work best. If you're going for a specific look, you're just to try stuff out and see what works best for you. Again, I will put some levels to tweak it a little bit. This maybe. And maybe. Yeah. Something like this, I would say. Yeah. I would say something like this can work. Let's go faster on this one because it's such a small part. Like, yeah, let's go to the dirt. Which actually, there's probably gonna be not that much because it wouldn't make sense. There's dirt on this thing. Like, yeah, it's all flat, you know. But let's see. Just some rough, like this. Dark color, I would add a little bit of a brownish color. Maybe something like this. Black mask. Probably we can just drop a smart mask on top of it. Maybe a dirt dusty. Let's see how does it look. Yeah, way too strong. I would slide down a bit the color. Yeah, I think like this can work. Yeah, I don't want to put too much dirt on this one because it just wouldn't make too much sense, I think. Then I would add some larger fingerprints because that's, you know, on those shiny metals, they always show up. Like as soon as you touch it, it's like your phone pretty much. You know, just look at your screen. It's gonna be always full of fingerprints. So maybe we can have some color. Definitely less rough. I think we're gonna use a fill layer again. If not, we just paint them in. Let's see. Maybe this one. Fingerprints are a bit tricky because if you scale them too much up, they just look wrong, you know. This is kind of the size of your finger, so like this, it's kind of wrong. So it's always a bit tricky to get them right. Yeah, kind of weird. Kind of like this, not completely like the roughness to 0, because it's like a mirror if you put to 0, but something like this maybe. Yeah, and we can always paint something in, like let's add a paint. Let's go to our alphas finger. And we can always paint someone. Like if this is the trigger, it's gonna be something like this, I would say. The size. We can always add some flow, size, and angle jitter. And I think it's way too strong, so just turn it down. And yeah, looks already better, I think. Maybe a bit too grungy, but I think that's fine, because that's the bottom part. It's gonna be where all this shit goes, so yeah. I think I would call done this one, because yeah, we're spending way too much time on that part. So now I will start getting into these parts. We're just gonna take, I think, the body material and tweak it to give this kind of look, and finally get onto this one. Then we decide if we want to go to this kind of metal, this darker one, or this kind of a middle way. Then we can just decide together. So actually, after I've made each material, usually when I get time, when I'm alone, I just export my textures, put it in Toolbag, see how it looks, do some tweaks, and again, back and forth till I get the look I want, So yeah, here we are kind of rushing it a bit, but that's fine. So I just duplicate my main material. Yeah, let's call it barrel. Let's mask it. Okay, first thing we can see, it doesn't have that grain. Like maybe there is, but it's so tiny that on our 4K texture is probably gonna be unnoticeable. So I would say let's just go without the grain. Yeah, I would say so. So we can just go back to all our stuff and start building our material pretty much from where we started. Actually, let me mask also these couple of parts. Yeah. And then we're gonna do on another folder the trigger, because it's kind of different. It also has some cooler color variation, which I'm gonna show you later. So the base, I would say we keep the same one, maybe slightly more rough. Surface details, we keep them. Edges, in the edges, maybe we can go darker, because if you look, other than these edges, there must all this stuff we made in the high poly. So I would maybe add some rough like this and some darker color. Kind of like this. I think that's way too reflective. So maybe kind of like this. And actually, I think we're gonna keep our noise, but we gotta scale it up quite a bit. Something like this, I think, because it's way more subtle on the barrel than it is on the body. And actually, I think we can lower the height intensity even more, maybe. Yeah, super subtle, but should make the difference, I think. Yeah. I'm actually seeing that it kind of has almost a greenish tone, the reference I'm looking at, but maybe just the lightning, I don't know. Let's keep it like this for now. Then this one, it was a roughness layer, which I think we're gonna scale up like this. Contrast like this. Yeah, kind of add some speckles, I think they're called. And same thing with this one, but this one I think we can keep them as they are. Kind of like this, I think. Yeah, should work. Edge highlights. Yeah, we're definitely gonna bring it down quite a bit. Not really liking that it takes all this kind of an edge, so I'm gonna put a paint layer, use the UV thing up here, you know, I don't remember how this tool is called. Yeah, the polygon fill, UV, put it to black, and I'm gonna just mask out this stuff. Yeah, something like this. And actually, looking at the ref, more than highlight, we're gonna bring down the color, kind of darken it. Yeah, something like this. Maybe it's too strong on this part. I would do this thing. I would put the polygon fill at halfway, because I don't like that it's so strong on this piece. Instead of going and making another folder in the paint, let's put it middle way in the color, you know, not white, not black, just gray. And no, it's just wrong. You have to put it below, I think. Yeah, doesn't work as good as I wanted. But let me try again. So, yeah, kind of like this, see it? Before and after, you know, just so it has a lower intensity. Yeah, kind of like that. And I would say our base is pretty good. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, let's get height details. I think we're gonna delete everything in here. Yeah, pretty much everything. Maybe these scratches, we can keep them. It's so nice actually to texture in 4K. Like now switching back to 2K is quite bad. Like you can see the details how they're gonna be later in Toolbag. So yeah, and this one we can delete. So yeah, let's get color variation. I think we can keep the one from before. Maybe we can bring down a bit these masks. This one, I think we can scale it up a little bit and add some more blur. So filter blur, like this, I think. Yeah. Yes. And let's jump into the roughness. Again, let's uncheck everything and start back. This one, I think it's scaled a bit too much. No, that's fine. I would lower the height because I definitely think it's way too high. Yeah, something like this. Something I just noticed we should add in the base are some lines like this. Maybe the color not. So just a fill layer, black mask, add a fill, and it's called anisotrophy. I don't know how to say it. The lines pretty much. And let's just tweak it like this. Oh, this is something you want to keep in mind when you UV, which is just a paint, just in Painter. You know, here they got one direction, here they got another one, here they got another one. So we're gonna call them lines vertical. let's do the tweaks we want to do. Maybe let's add some more contrast and less balance. I think that's way too strong. Something like this. Let's duplicate it and lines horizontal. And we gotta mask both of them. So these lines are for this part. And now we gotta mask also these ones. So black mask for these parts. And we gotta rotate them by 90. Bam. And just group all the lines. So we got them organized. Bam. It made the lines, which look pretty cool, I think. Yeah, I think like this can work. So back to the roughness. Scratches. Roughness and color. I think these ones are okay also with this part. Yeah. Other scratches, I think it's gonna be fine. Maybe a bit less color, as it's not so visible on the barrel as it is on the body. Scratches light. Maybe more rough like this. Yeah. These ones were hand painted. We can go back and just hand paint them using the alphas I bought, which I don't remember which one was actually. Maybe it was something like this. I actually don't remember. But I just went in and I guess I have to put a paint layer on this one. Yeah, kind of like this. Let's do it super quickly. Yeah, very visible. We should bring them up a bit, I guess. Yeah, something like that. Now, this roughness, I would scale it up. Maybe something like this. When you don't have the random button on your Grunge map, I usually just play with the offset to get the look of the map you want. Yeah. These ones were those spots. Would make kind of darker color. Even a bit more reddish maybe. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, then this one. Again, we should mask just this part and keep this direction and then rotate 90 degrees for this part and this part. But for now, I would say we keep it like this, but I would lower the color intensity, something like this. 30 should work. Then for the iron, I honestly don't think we're gonna use that. Or maybe we can just add some edgeware, really basic. So because this mask was the one I made before. Oh yeah, before on the iron, I didn't show this, which is because you can see it's all kind of a dotted mask here. So that's why I did make this kind of mask on the group below. But we don't need that one on this one. I think we're just going to start with a generator and probably just metal edgeware, which looks super bad. But if we can tweak it a little bit, something like this. Then we can put a fill layer. I like to use clouds too for subtracting the mask like this, and just tweak it to get what you like. Maybe 2 or even 3. You know, so it's not so uniform like that. Kind of looks better. Yeah, let's keep it like that for now. Then the spots, I think, oh yeah, we already tweaked them. Let's get into the dirt. We don't need the additional ambient occlusion. This one, let's go quickly with this one. This one, it's okay. This one, it's a bit too strong. Maybe it could look cool. No, maybe 70. By the way, do we have some questions? Don't be afraid to interrupt me and say anything. Like, say whatever you want. So this one has a bit of an angle, which we don't want on the barrel. So it's something like this. When I can get the right value, I like to just tweak this slider of the channel I'm working on. Something like that. Yeah. Then there are 2 whites like that. Maybe a bit less. You can add a bit of dark color. Way too much. Roughness, I would say 50%. Base color, I would take it down quite a bit too. Maybe like this. Yeah. There are 3. A bit too dark. That works fine. Finally, this one. Let's bring it like this. Too much. Yeah, something like this. Hand painted stuff, we don't need it, I think. Yeah, we don't need this stuff. For the rust, kind of goes a bit here, a bit to the top. Yeah, let's just mask it out. So rust, for the rust soft, kind of just mask it out here in the front, I think. So why it's not working? Anyone knows why I don't have like the slider of the black and white? This is so weird. Anyone? Hello? This is so weird. Why? If I
Hey
have
man,
Hey,
you
man.
are
It's
you
so
in
weird.
brush?
What?
You
Sorry?
You might select brush on the left side, maybe. Is it selected?
Oh yeah. Thank you. Thanks, man.
No problem.
So on the rust, fine. We have this mask, but I think we're gonna have to tweak it because it spreads this softer rust. It spreads like in the front only. So kind of tweak it like this, maybe. Just a filter to transform it and move it. Let me try. Yeah, it doesn't work so good, actually. No, let's keep it like this. And we have to choose the right brush. Let's see if we got something in here. Maybe something like this. No. Dry paint. Let's try. We're gonna then mask again back with some black values to kind of give it some more detail, I think. Yes, something like this. Also on this part, which I'm just looking that there is some rust, just there. Yeah. Let's put to black and mask out this part. No, black. Why it's so buggy? Should just, well, let's do like this. Let's do another paint, subtract, because I don't know why it doesn't work, the black slider. I don't know. Let's do like this just. So it's not so intense, this soft rust. Something like this, I think. Yeah. Then we do the same thing on the spots. We're probably gonna add some here, a bit all over, I think. Yeah. So black mask. Yeah, something like this. Not too much, not too little, but should work. I think I should take out a bit of this one, I think. Yeah, kind of like this. And actually, maybe we can add also some here on this part. Yeah, something like this should work. And then finally, this kind of a middle type of rust, black mask. I think that's way too strong like this, so we're gonna tone it down a little bit in a second. Not touch this one. Let's just mask it like this. I don't know why it doesn't work the black on the grayscale. I'm just gonna put the paint and put it to subtract with, which does the same thing. Kind of like this. I think there's way too much of this here. But overall, it's not too bad. I think when we're gonna bring it into Toolbag, it's gonna look a bit too shiny. So I would bring up a bit the roughness. Something like this, maybe. Well, we'll see later. Then, so what I would like to add is this kind of dirt in here, and also this kind of a burn in front that this one has, which looks pretty cool. So some dirt first. Back to the dirt. Let's call it like dirt front. would leave the roughness, put it quite rough. And for the color, it's tiny little bit of a brownish color and put it quite dark. Something like this, I think. Method 0. Mask, I would start with a fill. And we gotta choose which Grunge map. So I think this one, let's try this one, but we have to mask it. So I would add a generator and actually first let's just put it in a folder. So because we want to add a black mask and just mask this front part because that's where we actually want the dirt. So we can actually just do it manually without the generator, which would just give the dirt everywhere. So yeah, like this. That's way too strong right now, but let's see. Probably take down a bit the color. Probably something like that. And now we want to add this kind of a burn, which is a kind of a little bit of a reddish dark tone, I think. So let's do another fill layer. Let's call it burn. I think we turn on everything except color and roughness. Let's say something like this, maybe. Yeah, then we can always tweak it. A bit more rough than the other material. And I would start just masking it with the standard brush, just with the shape, you know. I would say a little bit of hardness, like super roughly, something like this probably. And let's mask out this part right here. And yeah, also in the interior probably something like this. Yeah, something like that should work. Then now looks pretty bad, so I would tone down the red. First, let's add some blur. Something like this, I think. Yeah, and probably we can add a paint, put it below the blur, because if you put it above, it won't be affected. And let's choose an alpha, so we break a bit the uniformity of that burn. Maybe. Oh, you mean for the mask? I don't know that shortcut, but I'm gonna try it right now. Thanks, man. So let's try this one with X. Oh yeah, that's dope. Didn't know about that. Thanks. Maybe there's too much blur. Thank you. Something like that, maybe. Yeah. Just so that's not so uniform, you know? Maybe it's still quite too strong, I think. I should brighten up a bit. The base color, maybe. Here it's quite bright, actually. It's kind of weird. But honestly, I don't like if it's looking so bright, so yeah. Let's actually add some more. This. Yeah, this stuff. If you start hand painting, then you just lose yourself into details. So let's just stop it here so we can move on. So, honestly, don't really like how it's in the ref. It's kind of weird. We can try to match it. It's kind of less, more shiny, a bit more saturated, a bit more light. Not so much, but it's kind of like this. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I would bring it down a little bit. Something like this, I think. Yeah, and it's still way too strong, I think. Maybe 50 should work. Yeah, for now let's keep it like that. Then we can always go back and tweak it. So now let's move on to the trigger, which I would just keep this material, probably push a bit more the dirt, add some green kind of moss you can see in here, which is really cool. And something I would take inspiration is from this dude, Shiab Alvi, which has done this pistol, which is super cool. This kind of a scratches and rust, it's pretty cool. So I would steal from him that detail actually. But yeah, let's start by duplicating this folder. Black mask, let's rename it to trigger. And yeah, mask this one. I think it's kind of darker, the base. Here. And also a bit more rough, I think. Something like this. Yeah. The dirt, honestly, I would keep it the same because we get up to speed, because then we still have to do this material, so yeah. Yeah, let's keep it like this. Maybe we can push it a little bit more. We can delete these two. This one, this. A bit more dark. This one, bit rougher. It's quite dirty, the trigger actually. It's kind of weird. Then this one I would scale it up a bit and rotate it just to match the inclination of the trigger like this. Then, yeah, let's add that green moss. I think it's called like that. So, metalness 0, quite rough. Right. Color is kind of weird. Well, let's add a black mask. I think there is a smart mask for moss. Yeah. So let's see which actually where it forms also on that part, but the color is pretty bad, honestly. So maybe that's too much. Like this. Yeah, for this one, I think we have to spend some time getting the color right. Trying to pick it from the image, but I don't think that works very nicely. So kind of like this. It's maybe less saturated, a bit darker. Yeah, maybe something like this. Here something has happened with the normals. Maybe the vertices hasn't been weld. I don't know. Yeah, something like this should work. Now, let's get quickly into the rust. Rust soft, I would kind of paint it around here, I think. So, too strong, so I would put a bit also the flow. Yeah, like that. Let's do the same on this side. Can also just unmask it just to add some more detailing into it, something like this. Then the spots, again, dark mask. Let's add a bit more hardness to this one, since we want to add kind of the spots of the rust. So I think like this should work better. Yeah, let's call it done. And we can add also this middleway type of rust. This one actually just spreads in the cavities. Yeah, super subtle. Can barely see it actually. So now I would start getting into it. It's some cooler scratches, I would say. So again, fill layer. Let's keep just metalness. Quite shiny, I would keep it. Let's say it's called edgeware. Let's see if we can have a cool edgeware mask. Because that's the kind of edge we want to have. So edge either. Let's try it with gun edges and then we see. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So maybe actually, you know what? Maybe we can just hand paint it in. Let me try. That's what I'm talking when you have to do a lot of testing when doing the textures. Because like there's not a good way to do everything. You kind of have to test these things, see what works best. And yeah. Kinda goes like this, I think. Yes, something like that. I would adjust a bit this layer. Maybe we can make it brighter, like it's in the ref. We can put a filter to add some details to this one. I don't remember how it's called, but it's one of these ones. Grainy maybe. Or maybe powder coated. No. Cannot fix it. Yeah, that's this one. Just add some flakes, kind of like the ref has, as you can see. Yeah, maybe that's too shiny, so something like this. But actually, would go with a kind of a darker metal, maybe. Yeah. Now our mask looks pretty bad. So I would add a paint. And we gotta choose an alpha because we want to kind of refine our mask. So maybe one of these should work. Let's try. So let's put it to black, flow jitter, yeah, perfect. I don't understand. If it's too black, why does it paint it with white? It's so weird. Well, you can just put it to subtract and kind of make it like this. Not too sure it's gonna look too good, but yeah, it's kind of weird. Let's add some levels. Maybe a little bit of blur. So let's add a filter. Blur. This is way too much. Something like this, maybe. Yeah, maybe it's already too much. Can do the same on the other side, something like this. Yeah, I would call this edgeware done. Now I would add another layer as edgeware. This time it's gonna be similar to the last one. We're gonna tweak it later. Let's just make the mask before. I would add a fill with the anisotropy. Scale it up, something like this, and tweak it to get it something like that, I think. And maybe even more scale, something like that, maybe. Then let's add a generator, edgeware, and we bring up the level. That's too much. And we're gonna multiply, which looks pretty bad right now, but we're gonna have to do some hand masking. So let's group it and black mask, and we just put this where we want it. Maybe better to lower the grunge amount, something like this, maybe. Yeah, should work. And it kind of gives these directional scratches, which now looks pretty bad. We have still to tweak them quite a bit, but should look decent later because it kind of gives the directionality, you know, where the trigger would scratch. The trigger would move in this direction, so that's where it would kind of meet with other surfaces and scratch kind of here in this direction. That's pretty much why we're making this. Kind of like that. Here looks better on the other side. I don't really like it. So maybe we can change the seed, something like this. Maybe. Super weird, but when I put the grayscale to black, it still paints in white. I don't understand why. That's super weird. Well, anyway. I think this side looks pretty good. We should get the same result on the other one, but we don't have too much time to stay here to tweak it, so I would say it looks decent. Something like this. Yeah, I would call the trigger done. And before going further, I would try to export my textures, do a quick check in Toolbag, and then we can move to the last part, which we have to do from scratch, that material, because it's completely different from the other ones. So this 4K It's gonna take a bit, so if you have any questions, just ask. Yo, Luca, you're also here. How you doing?
Good, dude.
Cool. So yeah, it's gonna take a little bit to export. Yeah. If you have any questions, again, just ask. Anyway, we gotta wait, so it's better if you ask.
Yeah, what preset you use for Marmoset? Is there Marmoset preset from Substance directly?
With preset, what you mean? Like the
I mean
stuff?
export presets,
Oh
like
yeah,
texture sets.
I can't show you, but it's like documents channel plus ambient occlusion without alpha, I think, because this time I don't need the alpha. So yeah. So come on, I have to buy a new computer for sure. I think in the coming weeks, because I'm working on a laptop and it's so bad.
Will you purchase desktop?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do. I was thinking about buying an Origin PC, you know them, like these ones, because I literally don't have time to choose parts, assemble it, and everything. So I was thinking about taking one of these. You can customize it, and they're dope, actually. Anyone knows this brand? I hope it's good, cause yeah, I don't want to waste 2K. But
Yeah.
the cool thing that you can customize all the stuff, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, let's just put 3090. Yeah, easy. Bam. Full sand mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it finished. Perfect. So this is the scene I usually most of the times to just test out a bit my stuff. Later I'll show you. And honestly, I think looks pretty good after all. We should tweak a bit more the moss, the green thing we made before on the trigger, because it's invisible pretty much. But the rest looks pretty good. Also the burn, I think it's good like that. What do you think? Yeah, I would
Yeah,
keep it like this.
it's looking
And
good.
yeah, it's not too bad, I think. Yeah. Let's do the last material, so then we can jump a little bit how I light my stuff in Toolbag. So we gotta choose which type of metal we want to go for. Like, as you can see, in almost every ref, I got a different type of metal. So tell me which one you want.
I think it's top right, but
This one
yeah,
up here.
yeah.
Yeah, this one looks dope actually. Yeah, let's try. So, new folder, hammer, and let's mask it. So, this one, let's see with which smart material we can start. Or actually, let's see which material. Metal. Yeah. So maybe this one could look good as a base. Yeah, let's try. One. Let's see. how the rust is on this one is super dope, which is kind of different from what I had before. So maybe we have to create another one. So yeah, come on, let's use this one, but we have to tweak it quite a bit. Base, the sharpen, we put it out. And I like this kind of detail, but I would probably bring down the opacity, but we have to go to the roughness channel because that's the only one that is affecting. Probably like 15 should work. And it's quite more rough, this material. Probably not so much, but maybe like this. Well, we can always go back. And maybe a bit darker actually. Something like this, maybe. Things. Yeah, this one we can put it in our roughness folder. Yeah, without folder. Dirt in our dirt folder. And I will call it dirt1 because I think we're gonna have quite some more. Surface details. It's cool, but I would keep the height half of this. Maybe 15. Edges. Actually, this one I think it's perfect because it also has this kind of a dots around here. So I think we're gonna keep this one. The base, I'm not too sure. I would add this filter to maybe it's matte finish rough, which adds some cool details, which are kind of similar to this one, I think. Kind of. But we have to be careful because see how it shows up the seam right away. And also if you keep it too intense, it just looks bad. So yeah, let's just bring it down quite a bit. I think affects also the normal. That's why it kind of shows the seam. So let's just keep it like this. Actually, it just uses the normal. That's super weird. Well, for now, let's keep it like this. So as a base, I'm not too sure actually. I think quite rougher. We can always go back. But yeah, I would add some edge highlights. For color variation, I don't think we're gonna add much, maybe just some darker spots, but let's see in a moment. So edge highlights, I would just use probably the curvature generator. Which is way too strong, so something like this, maybe quite subtle, I guess. Yeah, something like that, even a bit more blurred, like this. Yeah, should work. Then I don't even create. Oh, thanks, man. Have a good evening. Let's make some darker spots. I don't think. Maybe we can add some blue tones because it kind of seems there is some blue. I'm not too sure because the red is the main color that there is, but let's see. First, I would add some darker spots. So I would add a fill Perlin noise, which is my favorite for this kind of stuff. Maybe more contrast. Yeah, having a seam right here is not the best actually, but we'll work it out. Something like this, maybe. Darker. It's way too strong. But something like this, maybe. Yeah, should work. Let's actually just add some blue color variation, super subtle, real quick. Just some color, overlay. I would again use just a barely noise probably. Yeah, something like this. Maybe a bit less, and maybe with a blur filter. Kind of like this. It's way too strong, so I would say 25. It's already quite strong, so maybe 12. Yeah, super subtle, like, yeah. Then roughness, we had these stains, which kind of looked cool, but I guess we have to go a bit more rough. And that's because of the ref that I'm gonna show you in a moment. I don't really like these. So like this, it's way too much. So levels, so we can tone it down a little bit. That's because this material is pretty much, mostly is rough if you look at the flat surface. Just the angles are a bit more shiny, I guess, because that's where it gets scratched away. But let's see. So yeah, that seam is so bad. Well, maybe we can already add super slightly tint of red. Yeah, something like this. I would add already just another layer. Quite rough, so we should start getting a bit closer to the look we have there. Let's choose the Grunge Map. Guess we want to go with a more contrasty Grunge Map, which this one should work fine, I guess. Let's see. I think we're gonna put it to 3 planar so we don't have that seam. And actually I think we're gonna have to do it for all the layers below, because it's starting to show way too much for me. And if we put it to 3 planar projection, it just kind of hides it. So yeah, something like this. Should work. Yeah, see, right now it's almost invisible. Here a little bit yet, but way less than before. But now we have to tweak a little bit the mask. So actually this one I think looks fairly good. Yeah. Actually, let's put a bit of a red to our base. Quite subtle, but yeah. Then this one. Let's balance it down quite a bit. Probably a bit more contrast, because all the dirt on this part is super contrasty. not so much. Something like this, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's way too much still. Yeah, something like this should work. Let's add some spots, I think. I think we're gonna use grunge shavings, should be called. Yeah, this one, which is way too big, so like this, bring it down. We use just color and roughness, I think. Darker color, something like this. Maybe 3 is too much, 2 should work. Something like this, I think. Not too bad. I think the edgeware we had before should be a bit more subtle. Like this, maybe. Yeah, that's already better, I think. But now I would put another edgeware, actually. Something like this. Probably just a standard edgeware generator. Yeah, this one, which looks quite bad, but first I would remove all the grunge. Do something like this, probably. Add a fill layer in subtract mode. And let's see, we can use maybe this one or this one. Let's try. Yeah, this one isn't too bad. Just let's increase the contrast and do something like this. And we can go further with this one and just decrease the curvature weight so it doesn't spread along these parts. And yeah, that's a bit better. Then let's go back to our roughness. I would add another rough layer just with the roughness channel. Let's see what to use now. Maybe one of these two, maybe this one. Let's try. Again, triplanar projection, so it doesn't look too bad. And I think if we put a shiner kind of fill layer with this one, we get a more interesting look. But maybe we have to contrast it up a little bit, like this maybe. This is a bit too much. Maybe something like this. Yeah. The base is, I'm still not really sure about it, actually. Kind of weird how it is. In certain spots it's super rough, in others it's quite shiny. But let's try to go with this one. Yeah, let's tweak a bit this rough. No. Two. Let's tweak a bit this mask because I don't like this large white spot there. Maybe like this works better. Like this, I guess. Then I would add some scratches, which we didn't add yet. So black mask, fill. And probably these ones. And I would invert the mask, balance it down, contrast it a little bit. No, actually one was fine. And just balance it down actually. Yeah, something like that. And we might just add some height maybe. Just like this, I think. And maybe some roughness too. Something like this, I think. Honestly, I'm not really liking, but let's see how it turns out actually. So this dirt, this is from the smart material we used. And I think we're gonna bring it quite down, but still I would keep it actually. Not so intense, the color at least. Like that maybe. I think the base should be slightly lighter maybe. Like that maybe. Then I think in the roughness we need more a grunge map, like with more spots or something like that. I don't know really how to call it, but now we look for it. So rough 3. Maybe not. Something I think quite contrasty, but with some spots. Maybe this one actually, grunge dirt. Let's see. Again, 3 planar. Let's contrast it up, probably scale it up a bit. Like this. The weird thing is that this one is super dirty and I think it's gonna stand out quite a bit from the rest of the weapon. That's why I'm not too sure about, but let's see. Then some other dirt. I would just add maybe a generator, see how it looks. Way too much. Like this. Probably no metal. Quite dark. Probably something like this. Yeah, I would add another kind of fingerprints to kind of bring out some details like this. So another fill as always. This one probably. Scale it up like quite a bit. This is way too much. Actually, let's add some levels so we can tweak it. Probably let's switch it like this. Nope. The thing I don't like about this one is that you can't change the seed and put it to random, so you can try different stuff, but that's fine. Probably if we put it less rough, we can make pop some other details like that. I think maybe that's a bit too much. But yeah, let's try. I think that's an interesting look of this one, but it's quite far from the ref. Not too sure. I would take a bit down the roughness on this one, like 60%, and probably the same thing also on the color actually, because I think it stands out a bit too much from the rest. Like it's way too dirty from the rest of the gun, I think. So I think we have to take it down quite a bit actually, which is also something you have to change from the base. From this one, I think. Yeah. Kind of like this. Also the dirt, let's bring it down. Yeah, it's just stands out too much like that from the rest of the weapon. Like, wouldn't make sense to have mostly clean the weapon like I have on the body and a super dirty hammer, you know? So dirt, probably a bit more down, 60. And same on the roughness maybe? Kind of like that. I would add some more scratches and then I would start moving on to the rust, because actually it's already quite some time we are on this one. I want to try to have a look at in Marmoset and see how it looks actually. So scratches, I would just leave the roughness and fill scratches. You can probably just use this one. Tree planner, scale it up. Yeah, I think it doesn't look too bad, but yeah, I'm not too sure about it yet. Actually, let's add some red color variation, I think. It could help, maybe? I don't know, let's try. So subtle I can barely see it actually. This too strong, probably 20. Something like that. Now, let's tweak a bit the scratches of before. Like that. Let's move on to the raster real quick. So I would use the rust fine material because I just don't like these rust cores. So from the ref it's kind of more a reddish purple look. I don't know, let's try it. Definitely not like this one. So it's kind of more less saturated, I think. some kind of a hue. Yeah, definitely not like that. Probably we can add a filter, make it affect only the base color, and maybe just add a hue, HLS, maybe it's called HSL. So I think it kind of has this tone. Oh wait, no, that's just so bad. Kind of less saturation, but it has a kind of a reddish color towards almost purple, I think. So maybe we can do something like this. It almost has this kind of tone, I think. So maybe we can add an overlay. Use this one, but that's not the color. Use also a mask to just not have it super uniform along all the rust. Probably just some fairly noise. Scale it up, triplanar. This maybe? Yeah, that's more kind of color. As you can see, I don't know how much you can see, but you can see both. But if you look at the spots where I masked, it kind of goes more in that direction, I think. So maybe there's no need for a mask. We kind of keep this kind of color for now, I think. So let's call this one our rust base. And black mask. Let's see which mask we have for the rust. We could combine two, I guess. We could use this one and put the cavity rust on top, probably multiply. Nah, looks just too bad actually. Yeah, that's not the right base. Probably edge rust maybe. This might work better, but we want the rust into the cavities, not onto the edges. So I don't remember how you change the convexity of your mask. And metal edgeware, I'm not too sure, because as you can see, we want to have it in the cavities. This is the right mask for me, but it shows up on the edges, right? So there should be a parameter which kind of lets you change the convexity of your mask, but I don't remember where it could be. Maybe we could just add an invert mask and tweak it from there, which is kind of strong, but let me try. Maybe it's not the right thing, but let me try and then we'll see. I think that's just way too strong like this. But we can always mask it manually. Yeah, I actually think that's the right mask for it. And also the color is going in the right direction, as you can see. But we better just regroup it, add a black mask, and just hand paint it in, actually. That's, I think, the best way. We can maybe add some blur later. Kind of like this. Yeah, it doesn't look good because it kind of stops here. Yeah, for now let's keep it like this, but I should definitely rework the base mask because this one doesn't look too good. Like, it's the right direction, but the thing that stops right here, it's so bad, honestly. So yeah, let's keep it like this. Maybe we can just do something quick and dirty like this. Yeah, but it doesn't look good actually. You know what? We redo it. Yeah, it's so bad. Let me check another mask actually. Or maybe cavity rust. Maybe that's, oh yeah, could be this one actually. Yeah, this could be the one, but way less strong and kind of spreads like this, I think. Yeah, kind of like this maybe. Yeah, let's go on towards the ending because I'm being quite picky right now, I think. But yeah, I think the mask should be a bit like less strong. Yeah, I could spend all day tweaking this mask, honestly. But maybe like this. Like this, I think that's a bit better. But it's kind of weird because maybe that's too blurry. Maybe like this. Like this maybe, and can just paint out some stuff. Paint, subtract.
I don't know, but it's looking very strong to me. But you are decreasing.
Yeah, also to me actually. It's kind of hard getting this kind of look that it blends in so nicely. But let me try real quick. So I think we might just no, maybe just doing something like this actually.
You can maybe paint it with less opacity of the brush.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm doing. I'm kind of using the slider on the mask.
Yeah, you can also use opacity from brush, like.
Oh yeah, that's also true. But I think like this, it's already much better.
Yeah.
Like just yeah, that was maybe the trick. Having not a completely white mask. Yeah, that kind of helps to blend in much better. Yeah, I would still mask out this this part here. It just looks bad. So like this.
Actually, if you are press X in polyfilter, you can change the white and black the same.
Yeah, thanks. Before I noticed, but the weird thing that today it's acting weird, Painter, because when I mask with black, it doesn't mask out. So I don't know why it does that. Not too sure, but yeah.
You are
I
using
think
latest
that-
version, right?
What? Sorry?
You are using a Substance latest version.
I think so, actually. I'm on 2020. I bought it the license this year, so Steam should let me update it every time, actually.
Oh.
So what I will do now is just add a paint. Probably use a rust. Maybe this one. Let's try how it works. And yeah, let's reduce the flow, which is the same thing as this slider. So we can kind of paint it in like this. Maybe that's too much. So we add this kind of stuff more on the flat surfaces. Yeah, the opacity of the mask was the trick actually. A little bit also on these edges. Too much. Can always mask it out later. But this side doesn't look too good. We should mask it out a little bit. And actually, I think this layer of color really helps to kind of get to the color we have in the ref, which is kind of weird, but it's quite cool actually, I think. So other than that, a bit more here. But still it's quite strong, our rust. I don't want to have it so much spread along the hammer. Maybe like this. Like this. Yeah, like this looks better. Yeah, it's not so bad, super bad, but it definitely would need quite some more work, this material. Now I would add to the base, I think, some lines which are kind of there in the ref, just in the rough channel, I think. So let's go another trophy, scale it. Kind of like this, which is way too strong. Something like this. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that dirt. It should be a bit more contrasty, but for now let's leave it like that. Then. What can we add also? I think we can try to export it, see how it looks, but I'm not too sure. I think I'll have to still give it some more work because I'm not too convinced about it. So let's try to see how it looks in Toolbag, and then we see. Yeah, it's kind of weird, this material. I don't know. And yeah. Maybe this one would be easier because it blends in better with the metal it has here. Also this one. I don't know. Could add this kind of height variation maybe later. If we got time, we can see. By the way, do you have any questions? Now I think I can get a bit into how I light quickly my stuff, which is quite basic, but we can go through quickly if you want to. However we want, because we are on like for 2 hours and a half now. So if we want, we can go quickly with that.
Gerçekleştiremiyor. O baskıyla beraber topu düzeltiyor. Vurmaya çalışıyor. Caner'in ön...
Yeah, sorry for the wait, but yeah, it's super slow.
No problem, mate. by the way, looking amazing.
Yeah, that hammer, I'm not really liking it actually, but let's see. So, yeah, I don't know, should need some more. I like this ref, but probably if we get that look, it wouldn't look too good with that, but I don't know. Like this doesn't look too bad. Maybe it stands out a bit too much, I don't know. But yeah, for now let's keep it like this. So for lightning, how I do my scenes, it's pretty basic actually. I usually just choose the sky. I really like the Uffizi, which isn't in Toolbag 4, but you can get it from the directory from Toolbag 3 and just put it in. And usually I just start with 2 lights, like a studio setup, you know, 2 lights from 2 sides. You can add a little bit of a tint to the color, but usually I keep it all white. It's just my preference. And a light on the back, so just to show shapes. I'm gonna usually add quite some lights to the back just to show a bit the shapes of the asset I'm lightening. And then after I chose my HDR, I just go in, choose click, make a light, go around till I found, hey, this spot kind of brings out the details, you know? And then you go here, I usually put it to white, change the brightness, and tweak all these lights to make like all the details pop. And this is pretty much how I light them. Like right now, I think the feature that there is in Toolbag 4 super cool is that you can have 2 viewports right now. That is super dope.
Yeah.
Like yeah, super dope actually. Something I could add right now is a light that hits this and this spot. So I go here, add a light. And another cool thing is like, it's called the light one. Okay, you go here, lights, light one, and you can choose the direction of it just by moving your viewport, which is super cool. You always play also with the type of light, which changes quite a bit the result you're gonna get. So that is something I would definitely do. I would just add a little bit without breaking too much that shadow, just to add something and doesn't look kind of underexposed. Yeah, just so that the bottom parts doesn't look completely black and you can see still some details, you know. Don't overdo it like this, definitely. Just a tiny bit. And then what else we can do? Maybe you can show a bit more the silhouette of the weapon. So back to perspective. New light. Lights, light 2. Maybe directional. Yeah, usually the back of my weapon looks super overexposed. That's because I kind of tweak the lights to show my silhouette. Yeah, that's probably not the right way, but it works from the main camera view. Maybe like this. No, doesn't work too good. Yeah, something like this that makes pop the top looks pretty cool to me. Something you want to keep in mind when doing lighting like I do, like for now I have already 10 lights. You have to be really careful about shadows because usually you get kind of unwanted shadows. So usually after I place my lights, I like my lightning, I go back to the shadows, check if the light is creating weird shadows, and then just uncheck cast shadows if it does. And that's pretty much my rendering process. Oh fuck, I moved the light. Let me just place this one here. Something like this. Maybe we can add another light that shows this shape. Nope. Which is called light 5. So light 5. Like this, maybe. See? Yeah, not too bad. Something like this. Let's call it done. As far as lightning, then this is my main camera. For the settings on the camera, I usually use a quite high focal length because I don't like distortion. Like, nope, this way. Just kind of gets distorted. On such a small weapon, it's barely visible. But I would go from 55 millimeters to 80. That's just my preference. Focus, I wouldn't use it unless you get super close, because if you start using it at this distance, it kind of looks as a tiny weapon. Flare, I don't like it. Distortion, I don't like it. Exposure, I don't know why I got it a little bit down. I add always a bit of contrast, and I kind of like to desaturate a bit my stuff, but it's so little that you can barely see it. So yeah. And add some curves, which really make everything pop. See, like huge difference. Then a little bit of sharpen and vignette, bloom, and grain. If I want to add them, I just add them in Photoshop because I don't like them. The one that Toolbag does. Then for render settings, I haven't really dig deep into the Toolbag 4 settings. It's kind of weird to me yet, but what I usually do, I'm just pumping up this stuff and I'm putting 2.9 these two because at 1 by default it kind of blows up all my highlights and reflections and everything. So 0.9 for now it's what does work pretty well for me. Yeah, it's pretty much it. If we want, we can render it and I show you how I edit it in Photoshop, but it's pretty basic actually. So I usually put this one to 512, the samples, PNG or PSD. PNG is fine. Turn on transparency and use ray tracing. And maybe that light is too strong, so let's bring it down a bit. Yeah, something like this. F12, so it renders. And let me boot up Photoshop. Okay, so where is it? This one. So usually I like to add my background in Photoshop because if you add the vignette in Toolbag, it just looks quite bad. So first thing, I'm not a big fan of dark like completely black backgrounds. It's hard to say. And I think with this weapon, kind of fit nice a light gray background. So I think I'm gonna add this background like this and make a selection to kind of add a vignette and just light it up. Something like this, I think, can work quite nicely. Like a light background like this, I think, especially with this weapon, looks way better than a completely black background. Like, I don't know, that's just my preference. Then I usually add slightly bit of contrast, just pushes the details a bit more. Some curves, something like this. And usually the contrast always pushes the saturation, so I like to desaturate like a little bit, not too much, like this. And usually these changes are way too strong at the end, so I just group them bring it down like 50%. And it kind of makes the difference if you say like this. And then it's pretty much it. Sometimes I like to add a bloom, which is this one. Like, I don't know how to call it. Let me just do this. Save. If you go here, the bloom is like, I don't know actually how to explain it. Let me show you. Bloom, like this thing that happens in the highlights, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of it because it kind of gives almost a dreamy look, kind of weird. But sometimes adding it in Photoshop looks good. But I hand painted in like this. If you want to make some parts pop, you can put it to soft light, this layer, and just reduce the opacity. So if you look, kind of does this thing. Kind of looks bad because I think I should have used the brush a bit more squeezed like this, something like this. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that, but can help to push a bit more the model, kind of like this, maybe a bit less. Yeah, and I think that's it. Honestly, this hammer doesn't look too bad after all. Thought it was worse.
Yeah,
It could
it
need
was looking
still some
dark.
work. It's a bit weird with the weapon. Like,
I think it's a bit too shiny than the reference. Right
yeah,
now.
that's for sure. Yeah, it's quite different from the reference, honestly.
In reference, it is more matte.
Yeah, it's totally different, actually. Yeah, maybe just the Raster was getting there, but I think I should completely throw away my base and restart it, because I don't think that was the right smart material, maybe. I maybe should have started from simple fill layer. I don't know. That's quite different from the ref, but that's not too bad. Maybe it should be more rough. Yeah. I don't know. But looks pretty good, I think. Overall, yeah. Maybe the trigger could use some more work. The barrel, I think, looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I would call it done. Like, this is pretty much my workflow. But yeah, again, when texturing, you can't just do a pass on textures like I did right now and call it done. Like, for the body, I spent 3 evenings. Like, yeah, you have to do a lot of back into Toolbag and back again into Painter to really tweak it and get what you want, you know. And that's pretty much it. But the techniques I showed you is what I use really the most. Yeah, those were pretty much all the stuff I use. So I hope you learned something new.